Hey, it's your girl Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic. We are here talking about the 91st Annual Academy Awards, aka the Oscars. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, beautiful people out there at AfterBuzz TV fanland. I am your host along with Mina Wahab, Amy Cassandra, Anna K. Thomas, and we are here to talk about the 91st Annual Academy Awards, otherwise known as the Oscars. We got a lot to say. We're going to talk about the snubs. We're going to talk about the fashion. We're going to talk about the speeches. We got so much to talk about. But first, we're going to hit these speeches. Which speeches did we like the best?
Girl, it was a night for speeches, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
How can we not start with Spike Lee?
Yep. Right? Absolutely. Spike Lee, so we have some excerpts from Spike Lee's speech.
Sure do.
Of course we do.
Can we also talk about how he ran up on stage and jumped?
That
jump
was beautiful.
Samuel L. Jackson.
He jumped on him like a little kid. It was hilarious. I loved him for that. But, you know, they got a history. Samuel L. Jackson got his first break in a Spike Lee movie, so it was so cool to watch him be the one to present him with that Oscar.
Absolutely.
Kind of sad that he didn't win Best Director, but, you know,
at least he got something.
But he got something.
Yeah, finally.
So, in his speech, he says, and I love how he broke this down. He was like, all right. I want to thank Tanya, Jack, and Satchel, which is his wife and his kids. And then he said, the word today is irony. The date, the 24th, the month February, which also happens to be the shortest month of the year, which also happens to be Black History Month. The year 2019, the year 1619. History, herstory. I loved when he said that. And then he said, 1619 to 2019, 400 years our ancestors were stolen from the mother Africa and brought to Jamestown, Virginia, enslaved. Our ancestors worked the land from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. My grandmother, Zimmy Shelton Retha, who lived to be 100 years young, was at Spelman, was a graduate of Spelman College, and even though her mother was a slave, my grandma saved 50 years of Social Security checks to put her first grandchild, she called me Spiky Poo. You know he's never going to live that down. Yeah. He said on national TV that he was called Spiky Poo. I'm just saying that she used those checks to put him through Morehouse College and NYU grad film school. Let me tell you something. That was the most profound, prolific thing that he said because he broke it all the way down from the history of African Americans to this country to his history going from being the grandchild of somebody who saved her Social Security checks to put him through one of the most historical black colleges in the United States to be standing there winning the Oscar. That's huge. Huge. What y'all think about that?
Well, I thought the excitement, like you said, starting off from when he went up the stage, and I think Samuel L. Jackson, like, his reaction was kind of our reaction as well. He was like, what? I think that's great. And for him to finally be given that honor to get, like you said, a competitive Oscar is amazing. And I love that he was just so passionate about it. And you could tell that the rest of the time, you know, that the Oscars were going on, he was like, I got an Oscar.
Yeah, he was like, I got an Oscar. Yeah. And you can have one. And you can have one. Yes. That's exactly what he looked like. He was wearing purple. He was honoring his boy Prince, who also won an Oscar for Purple Rain back in the day. He had the Prince peace symbol or the indigenous symbol around his neck. You know, I'm a huge fan of Spike Lee. I've been a fan of Spike Lee like since day one. And I remember being a broadcast journalism major in college at Howard University. And I remember Spike Lee coming to the college talking about filmmaking and talking about his craft and encouraging us that were in the School of C, like we used to call it at Howard University, School of Communications, encouraging us to fulfill our dreams. So it was really wonderful for me to watch this brother fulfill his dream of winning a competitive Oscar.
Absolutely.
It was absolutely wonderful. The other speech that we said that we really enjoyed was one by Olivia Coleman.
I love this. What a surprise too, because she was up in it was a tough category. Okay, Yalitza was up for Roma. Glenn Close, who we thought was gonna win for The Wife. Olivia Coleman, obviously. Lady Gaga, A Star Is Born. She was sort of favorited to win early on in award season, but we saw in SAG, we saw at the Globes that she just wasn't winning that category. Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me? And so it was a real nice treat to see Olivia Coleman go up there. She's such a dynamic person and such a dynamic personality. She was making all these jokes. She was flustered with the prompter, flustered when they were counting down her for time. And I just thought, what a beautiful moment for her to finally have her moment in the sun.
She was funny. She was really funny.
I think she handled everything perfectly. I mean, she was not the favorite. It was Glenn Close who was going to be the favorite. So for her,
no pun intended.
I see you, Mina.
Master has struck again. But I feel like it was nice for her to kind of pay her respects to Glenn Close and say, you know what, this is crazy. This is probably the only Oscar I'm ever gonna get. So I'm gonna soak this up, and this is for you, Glenn Close. I've admired you since I was younger. I thought it was just nice and empowering to have someone, give a speech about it, but also say, wow, you're the person I really looked up to, and I'm here winning a speech when it could have been you, it should have been you. And she was just so gracious about it, and I loved how I loved her humility. I loved how she was also talking about her kids watching her or not watching her. It was funny. It was really cute.
And I love how she said to all the little girls out there watching the telly, you never know.
Yeah.
I love that she said that. I always love when someone wins and then they take that moment to reach out, because you always know somebody is watching you. We were talking about this during the Oscar show when we were watching it, the watch along. I was saying that, you never know who's watching you. You think people aren't watching. You think they're not paying attention, but there's always somebody watching and somebody paying attention. And when people like Olivia Coleman take that moment, that huge moment in their lives, that's such an exciting, out of your body kind of moment to reach out and communicate to someone that they know is watching them that they don't know, I think that's everything. I love when they do that. Another speech that we loved and talked about was Rami Malek, who won for Best Actor.
And I know our girl Mina has a lot to say about him.
Yes,
I
girl,
know
break it down.
He's important to you personally.
I mean, I mentioned this already for the live show for all of you who tuned in, but I think it's so important to have diversity in film, and it's so important to see people who don't look like us or who do look like us, so that we can have empathy for all sorts of different characters, so that we're not just pigeonholing one race in one role. So oftentimes we see people of Middle Eastern descent in roles where they are the terrorist, or they are the mass shooter, or they're the person at the grocery store working and they're the butcher, or what about all of the other roles? It's so refreshing to see someone like who is of Egyptian descent, who speaks Arabic, who's first-generation American, playing a leading role in a huge multi-million-dollar movie that has reached so many people. How often do we have something like that? I can't think of one Arab actor off the top of my head who has done this here in America, and it's so rewarding to see that. It's so rewarding when you finally see someone on screen who reminds you of home, where you're like, yes, this guy has made it. This is so great for my people. And it's like that when I see other people of color on screen too. It's like, yes, like we should all support each other. And this is the year of the woman, but it's also the year of people of color in general, and I love that. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why I was rooting most of the night for Black Panther. Like anytime Black Panther came out, I was like, Black Panther! But this is the reason.
You hit it hard.
I did. I was rooting hard for Black Panther, but let me tell you why. I think, and Spider-Man too, I think it's so important that we are reflected on the screen and that you see yourself on the screen. When you see somebody that looks like you, it makes a world of difference. Growing up, if I had seen one person that looked like me, that was an astronaut or a physicist or anything like that, that probably would have been it. I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to y'all. But I didn't see anybody that looked like me that was doing that. Yeah. So I think it's so important. I remember watching, they did a whole run of promos leading up to the premiere of Black Panther, and they did a whole week where there was somebody different on every week at Good Morning America, right? And there was this one day where they had this little kids dressed up as Black Panther, and there was this little girl dressed as Black Panther, a little girl now, not a little boy, but a little girl dressed as Black Panther, not as Shuri, not as the captain, but as Black Panther. And she had a little folded up heart, and she walked up to Chadwick Boseman and gave it to him. And I think Robin Roberts asked her, why do you like Black Panther so much? What was it about this movie that you liked? And I swear this made me cry. That is going to make me cry now. That little girl That little girl looked up with her little big puppy dog eyes, and she said, because I saw somebody that looked like me. If a little child is looking at a major motion picture like Black Panther, yearning and craving for someone to look like her, then that means it's important and we need to do more of it. So that's my speech for the night.
You've been killing it all night with your speeches.
I know, I'm that chick. I'm so that chick. I am that girl. Another speech that we said that we really, really loved was Alfonso Cuarón, which was a big upset of the night because everybody was expecting Spike Lee to walk away with it, but people in the industry were kind of saying, you know, that it's probably going to be Alfonso Cuarón for Roma. And I know, Amy, you had some very particular things to say about that.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, I mentioned earlier that on social media, not again to get too political, but on social media I did see like a mashup compilation, weird kind of edit thing of President Trump saying that Mexicans just bring bad things to the country, and someone else intercut footage of, and the Oscar goes to Alejandro Iñárritu and Cuarón and Del Toro, and it's like, no, hi, you know, kind of like the same idea that you can't just pigeonhole us. You can't just stereotype a whole race saying that we do bad things. Like, enough is enough. I feel like we've really, you know, touched on that, and I think that Hollywood is really touching on that now. And so for us to see Cuarón go up there and, well, first of all, just to get, you know, an Oscar again is amazing. And I think that for Latinos,
introduced by one of your besties.
Right?
Exactly.
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, we just need Iñárritu up there, and then it's like a whole like fun
they call,
little...
You know, they call them the Three Amigos.
Yes, exactly. So, and not even just that, but the fact that he spoke Spanish at the end. Yesterday at the Spirit Awards, Yalitza Aparicio spoke Spanish for a bit, and you know, of course, they had the subtitles there. But to see people that look like you or people that are different, I mean, Yalitza being there, I know that there's been a lot of criticism because of her being there. People just don't think that, you know, she's an actress, so it's like, why?
Look, she did her thing in that movie, and it did well. She did it, and did it well.
Right?
Exactly. And just, I don't know, I think there's something about speaking your native tongue that it's like, oh, there's someone on the Oscars speaking Spanish.
But that makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
That makes a difference because somebody that speaks Spanish is going to go, oh, I can achieve this too. I can be an Academy Award-winning director. I can be an Academy Award-winning cinematographer. I can be an Academy Award winner sound mixer, sound editor. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just the people who are acting that you see representing you.
Well, and the thing is that just even having the little thought of like, well, maybe. Like, that is so much because people just don't even, they just cut themselves off when they're growing up, and like people say, well, no, like, why would you do that? Well, but maybe, and then you go for it.
Exactly, maybe. All right, so we hit those speeches, and now we're going to hit the red carpet. We'll talk about the fashion. So the guys that we decided, us ladies up here, decided that were killing it on the red carpet were Tyler Perry, Chadwick Boseman, Stephan James, and Spike Lee.
Okay, Stephan James had the most gorgeous velvet suit on. It was so beautiful.
He's with some swagger.
She was like, velvet suit on.
It's so good. And he, of course, like you guys know him from If Beale Street Could Talk.
He was also on Homecoming with Julia Roberts on Amazon Prime TV. He got nominated for an Emmy for that as well.
See, so I feel like people didn't give him enough love, so definitely yes. And then moving on to the ladies.
We have Regina King, Lady Gaga, Julia Roberts, Constance Wu, and Kiki Layne.
So a few things about the ladies. Regina King had an Oscar de la Renta gown, beautiful white.
Oh, it was gorgeous. I loved how
she didn't do no wrong anyway.
I know, but I love how it had that little wave action happening right at the hip bone over her leg. That was fabulous.
She was fierce.
I love the silhouette of how it's like just perfectly cinched at the waist and how it really shows off her figure.
You know, for this type of thing, I mean, they do fittings, they do tailorings. This
for
was
months.
probably conceived of 4 to 5 months ago. Actually, especially as she was winning at Globes, winning at BAFTA.
Okay.
So they really hone in and say, okay, girl, you're probably gonna win. Like, what do you want to? This picture's gonna live on forever.
Let me tell you something. every gown she wore throughout the whole award season
her award
was
season
perfection.
was perfection.
Perfection the whole time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some people were saying that she channeled Oprah. I think it was it last year, the year before that, the Golden Globes. You know how Oprah wore the white dress that was like super regal. They're like, yeah, she's having her moment.
You know, I'm just sorry, but Regina King can do no wrong. She's do no wrong with her
amazing.
acting. She can do no wrong with her fashion sensibility. She's just the most fabulous thing in the world to me.
It's been a very good award season for Regina King.
Oh my God!
Absolutely.
I told y'all when we were watching that I met her at the Toronto International Film Festival when they screened If Beale Street Could Talk at the premiere. Yeah. And I went to the party afterwards and I sat down, I chatted with her for a good 15, 20 minutes. I was like, girl, look, you about to win that Oscar. I'm telling you right now. And she was like, no, don't say. I'm like, no, I'm telling you. I have been watching the Oscars since I was 8, 9 years old. I call it every year. I'm hardly ever wrong. And I'm so glad I wasn't wrong tonight.
Well deserved for her tonight.
Yeah. So one of the most eccentric, original, artistic things that we saw in terms of fashion this evening was to my homeboy Billy Porter, who is one of the stars of FX's Pose. He had on a tuxedo dress, and I know you all have some very strong opinions about that outfit.
So it was by Christian Siriano.
That makes sense.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's
I love
different.
Christian Siriano.
I liked it. I thought it was a little bit of like, you know, like business on top, party at the bottom. Hey. So, I was here for it. I'm okay with it. See?
I mean, but let's talk about the confidence you have to have to carry
so
something
ridiculous.
like this.
I cannot.
Let me tell you something. If anybody was going to pull this off, it was going to be Billy Porter.
I mean,
have you seen the things that Billy Porter wears on the red carpet? He wears the most outlandish, original, crazy things. But it's like you said.
Why not?
Confidence.
You got your shot.
Confidence
Exactly.
is
This
key.
is literally
Why
someone
not?
I want to be best friends with because this is so absolutely ridiculous that you have to have some serious confidence and not care what anyone thinks.
But if there was ever a stage for it, it's the Oscars.
Exactly.
It's
This
so
is the
ridiculous.
biggest-
Exactly. And he's so that person. He doesn't care what anybody thinks.
yeah.
And FYI, he did the fashion commentary for ABC 7 today for the Oscars. So that was major.
Major.
For him.
Yeah.
You know, I saw him interview Congressman John Lewis. And you could see on Billy's face, he was so excited but overcome with joy all at the same time. This is an iconic moment for him. Billy won the Tony for Kinky Boots on Broadway.
Oh,
and he's been in a multitude of Broadway shows. Some of them
I saw him in that original, and it was
great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's a really wonderfully gifted performer. He's a wonderfully gifted director. He's a writer too. So to see him jumping into this whole other lane of red carpets and fashion is just great.
So great.
I love it. Okay, so we all know who won. We all know who our favorites were to win and what disappointments that we had, but we also want to talk about the snubs of the evening. Yes. So let's start with Green Book.
Whoa, that silence was. Wow.
It was palpable, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, it got snubbed in some ways. My guy, Viggo Mortensen, did not get much love at all this award season, and I thought he really carried that film. Obviously, Mahershala Ali won for Best Supporting, which we're very excited about. But Green Book came out of nowhere and won Best Picture. Could not believe it. I'm personally thrilled because, like I said, I do think that it did not get the attention and the recognition it deserved throughout the season. But up against Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Vice,
It doesn't hold up.
It pulled ahead.
It doesn't hold up. It does not hold up.
I gotta disagree with you, and I love you, Mina, so much.
You know that I love this story too.
I know,
you know that
which is why I'm surprised.
You know that I love Viggo Mortensen in this role. You know that I love Mahershala Ali in this role. You know that I even thought the screenplay was great. It's just that I feel like compared to the other films, like why are we having a white male protagonist who is learning to unlearn all the racist notions he grew up with because he's a lovable character and we see him defending this man? I just don't feel like we need this movie right now. I feel like there were so many other picks that I would have rather had win Best Picture, and it just devastated me. As much as I liked it, it devastated me. I just feel like, no.
Sorry, we are in the chat, so please keep your comments coming. You guys are doing a great job. Yash, I'm gonna try my best.
Yes.
Yash Srivastava.
Yes.
There we go. Thank you.
Work, Mina.
Yeah. Green Book was a great, straightforward movie. So, you know, I know that there are people out there that predicted that Green Book would win. I would love to hear from those people.
They also said
hit
that
us
they
up.
thought that Vigo elevated the material, and as a movie it worked. And I totally agree with that. And they said same with Mahershala Ali. Totally agree with that. But it's just like, come on,
I think we
have
need
so
movies
many
like
other
this
great picks.
every day, all day, every award season. I don't think you can get enough of movies like this. It's about bringing people together. It's about people from different worlds. It's more than just black and white. I think that you were talking in our watch along about the timing and how this felt very like 1990s.
1993?
1993
is
to
what
be
you said.
exact. But girl Carla over there, she's so choked up over
It's
Mina's
movies,
comments.
It happens.
But I do think that this is a time where, okay, I hear what you're saying. Year of the woman, year of diversity. I hear you, but the film in and of itself is diverse.
Yes.
Because we're talking about, even Vigo's character is not straightforward. He's nuanced. He's from Brooklyn.
Yes.
His family dynamic is nuanced. And so I do think that it was a showing of a different type of white male protagonist. I do.
It's about having, in a lot of ways, it just feels like, oh, we're elevating a white ally here. And we're praising someone for being an ally. I didn't like the white savior complex.
I hear you, but
Of
everyone
it.
needs allies, and we all have to be each other's
but
allies.
why are we praising? Why are we having the protagonist be him instead of Mahershala Ali?
Well, Mahershala Ali was also an ally.
See, and that's what I love.
Am I wrong?
because
No, he wasn't an ally. I disagree with that. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the thing.
Yeah.
Carla's back, people. Carla's back.
I'm back. Sorry, I got a little verklempt for a moment.
That needed to happen first.
It needed to happen. But this is
I love you so much.
this is the thing. During the award season, a lot of people, a lot of critics that I know, in particular, called this film the Driving Miss Daisy of the season.
Yeah.
For all the reasons that Mina named.
Sure.
I have conflicting feelings about the film myself, but at the end of the day, I'm glad the film was made because it brought to my attention Dr. Shirley. Up until Green Book, I had never heard of Dr. Shirley. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what his contribution, excuse me, to history in terms of music was. And so now, because of the film Green Book, I now know who he is. So for that, I'm eternally grateful. I'm not necessarily happy about the way his story played out on screen. I felt like it was very heavy-handed toward
Viggo Mortensen's character.
yes, but
Yeah.
that's not surprising considering the fact that Tony Vallelonga's son wrote part of the screenplay. So I'm not surprised by that. But you know, we could talk about Green Book all night long.
I do want to note too. The last thing I do want to say is Octavia Spencer produced this.
Yes.
And we
Love
all
her.
thought that was awesome.
Yes.
And I do want to say too that I do think it was nice having her in the mix because obviously I think she helped with like softening the lens a little bit. I think it would have been a different movie without her participation.
Definitely.
Okay, all right. So we also also have something in here about Olivia Coleman being snubbed.
Maybe wasn't
No,
it
I think it was which we talked about earlier. I think it was that she won.
we
and
were
that
she won and we
she
didn't-
had been snubbed at other award ceremonies. and
Okay,
so
that's
I
what
think
it
that
was. I was
led
like-
to I think that led to us thinking that she wasn't going to win, and we talked about it with her acceptance speech. I mean, just to beat out Glenn Close, who was the clear favorite.
Yeah.
I think Gaga was the cultural favorite, but in the critic circle, in the esteemed film community, it was always going to be Glenn Close.
I think we were all surprised.
Yeah, we were. We were all
So-
surprised. We were surprised about a lot of things. We were also surprised about the Black Panther score winning over the Beale Street score. Because I
Yeah.
just knew my boy Nicholas Bertel was going to bring home the gold.
You
Because
were
he had
so
won
confident.
because he'd won everything else. He'd won everything else.
Yeah.
Everything else. So I was, except for the last awards, which Ludwig won for Black Panther. And when Ludwig won, I was like,
The
there's a
Grammys?
wrench in the
Yeah.
there's a wrench in the mix right now. What's happening? So when he won tonight, it's good. But this is the thing. Whether it was Beale Street or whether it was Black Klansman, it was like you were saying, Anna Kay, it still represents the fact that no matter where you come from, no matter what your ethnicity is,
you are.
everybody comes together for the greater good of the art. So in that respect, it was good to see that.
Definitely.
Vice.
We got to talk about this. Vice got completely shut out.
So Vice was the one that I thought was going to win Best Picture since nothing else was winning. I was like, yeah, okay, it's going to happen.
Or Adam McKay for director, something.
Well, or even Christian
Bale.
Bale, Sam
Something.
Rockwell. They did such a good job. But yeah, I mean, for sure didn't win anything.
Well, we thought Christian Bale was going to
film editing.
I didn't think it would win for film editing.
I thought it was going to get it.
But Christian Bale had won
Best Supporting at the Globes.
He'd won.
Best Actor at the Globes.
Yeah, he'd won a couple of times throughout the season. But then Rami kind of just picked up steam. He was like the little engine that could, honey. And he came and he crossed the finish line. I'm like, well, all right then. Hey.
Yeah, but Vice, Amy Adams, she was nominated all throughout award season, got nothing.
I don't think she was snubbed at all, though. Her performance was definitely not as strong as the rest of
Fair
theirs.
enough,
and
but
she's great.
Yeah.
Like, she was in Arrival a couple years ago. She's gonna be fine.
No one gave her love for that one.
Yeah.
You know,
she's a very strong actress.
I have a love-hate relationship with Amy Adams.
She gets cast in these roles all the time. She gets cast in really great Oscar-worthy roles.
What's your hate part?
I have a hate-love relationship with her because I think she is an exemplary actress. I think she's really wonderful, but I oftentimes feel like the projects that she's attached to don't necessarily lend themselves to highlighting her acting in a positive way, which is why because there's a likability thing with her. So I think because of the likability thing, she always gets a nomination. She always is in the room where it happens, so to speak, right? But she never gets to take home that statue. And I think it's because there's that disconnect between the material that she's given to act with and in, and her personally as an actress and as a person. It's just the disconnect there. For me personally, it's not that for everybody.
Yeah, well, see, I remember her back in Doubt. I think Doubt was one. Yes. And I feel like her role there was so intense, so dramatic.
She was good in Doubt.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe right now she's just choosing things that make her happy. So challenge her in different ways. So whether or not that ends up being an Oscar-worthy performance or not, that's just what she wants to do right now.
Yes,
American Hustle was also pretty good for her, too.
that one. Yeah.
She won a Golden Globe for that.
And then obviously,
in American Hustle.
She still won an award.
I know, but
and also the Disney movie where she's
Enchanted! Yes!
I think Enchanted is the thing that put her on the map.
Yeah.
And I think, because of Enchanted, the doors kind of parted like this.
Yeah.
But I like her. I just feel like the material. I just feel like there's a disconnect with her sometimes.
Rooting for her.
Also,
it's all good.
Oh, by the way, Roxy Stryer, fellow AfterBuzzer, by the way. Shout out to
Hey,
Roxy.
Roxy! Hey, girl!
She's joining us in the chat. She says, I think Rami deserved it over Christian, but I thought Bill would win. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So aside from Regina, Bill got shut out as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
it did.
That one hurt.
That was the biggest snub of all time.
That hurt my feelings.
That's what I wanted to win Best Picture. I wanted Beale Street to be nominated for Best Picture. I thought
The
it was
fact that
so
it wasn't.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And
I
I
thought it
kind of
was
wanted
way
to see
better
Barry
than-
Jenkins walk home with something.
So good.
Yeah.
I really did. Because I felt like, man, he
But
won.
was it Moonlight? Like, really? Was Bill Moonlight
Let
level?
me tell. Yeah, in my opinion, it was. In my opinion,
it was beautiful.
In my opinion, I was like, if you're gonna win an Oscar and follow it up with another major motion picture,
It would be this?
If Beale Street Could Talk was it, and
Okay.
it's the first adaptation of a James Baldwin novel, and James Baldwin is one of the most polarizing authors that we have in American history, not African American history, but American history. His work is very polarizing, and you either get it or you don't. So the fact that Barry Jenkins took an author that's that polarizing and brought that to the silver screen and made it work the way that it did, is the way it was beautifully filmed and the way it showed black love between a man and a woman, between the family members.
It showed so much too. It wasn't just. Going back to the whole thing that Amy and I were talking about not stereotyping a certain group of people, it showed different socioeconomic statuses within that race of being African American.
Exactly.
You had, the elites. You had the ones
The
that
working
were struggling.
class.
You had, the mom who's going to fight for her, not even her own child, but her son-in-law, and go to great lengths, go to Puerto Rico to fight for this man.
I mean, that scene in that alley with her and the woman that was accusing him, that scene right there is what won Regina King that Oscar, that one scene.
And I was surprised they didn't show that scene in the Oscars. They showed a different scene.
Because it's long.
Yeah.
That scene is very long, and it takes a minute, and it's not all about her, and it takes a minute to get into it. So they show stuff where it's more, where you can get a gist of her real quick.
Seconds,
So the upsets of the night.
Here we go.
Boy Erased. I was really upset that Boy Erased through the whole entire season got no love. Lucas Hedges was wonderful in that movie. Not Julia Roberts.
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman was wonderful in that movie. His father,
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Peter Hedges, I'm like, come on now, y'all.
The whole
I was
film.
really...
And it was an early favorite when it was coming out in the film festival circuit. It was an early favorite. People, especially Lucas, riding the wave of Manchester by the Sea, obviously, and he's been doing a lot of very coming-of-age stories and teen films, too. And everyone thought it was going to be an early favorite, and it did not even
It didn't make a peep.
spark in this award season.
I interviewed the mom and the young man that the film is based upon early on in the season, and I love the fact that he took this personal story, wrote it into a book, and then they picked it up and adapted it into a film. Do you know how much courage it takes to put your life out there like that in a book? And they still live in that town.
And we saw that with Beautiful Boy, too. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I saw that, too.
And that was also based on a real story of a father and son dealing with drug addiction. And it got some love at the Globes. Timothée Chalamet was nominated. Steve Carell wasn't. But definitely did not make a peep.
And that's
everyone's saying that he got snubbed.
Why do they always diss Steve Carell? But that's another conversation for another show.
He wasn't that great in that movie, but Timothée Chalamet's performance was gripping. It was fantastic.
And the other one that got snubbed, The Hate U Give, Russell Hornsby, with that opening monologue on the lawn with those kids telling them what to do if they get pulled over by the police. Come on now. Russell, I was so mad that Russell Hornsby got no love across the board. The African American Film Critics Association, which I'm a member, we gave him some love. But other than that, I'm just like, wow, Russell Hornsby is a beast. And I hope that he gets some other films where he can be acknowledged. I feel like he should have been acknowledged for this. And Amanda Stenberg, come on. Somebody that young pulling that type of performance off.
Yep.
She'll have other opportunities for sure.
Sorry to bother you guys, but what did you think of Sorry to Bother You? Seriously, I know.
Mina had to do it.
It was so good, though. Like, it was, like I said, like, with all these other films coming out, there was so much social commentary there, and, you know, social commentary when it came to capitalism and acting white and what it means to be a black man in America trying to raise to the ranks of where you want to be without distancing yourself from your people and still being successful, like what success means. That was such a brilliant movie, and it was so freaking funny. Like, it was hilarious.
I think the problem here was that it was in the same year as BlacKkKlansman.
Yeah.
I just don't think there was room at the table, sad to say, but I just don't think there was room at the Oscars table for two films sort of coming at things. It was the same sort of lens. And I think had Sorry to Bother You come out in 2017 or come out in 2020, it would have been a different story. But to come out with Black Panther and BlacKkKlansman, I just don't think it had the oomph to make its way through.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
That's so frustrating, though, because I felt that was a huge
It happens all the time,
I feel like that should have been
coming out the wrong time.
That should have been nominated for Best Original Screenplay.
Yeah.
Like, that was so creative.
I totally agree with that. And, you know, speaking of, we've been talking about the feature films that got snubbed, but one of the most beloved documentaries that got snubbed was Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Oh, my God.
The Mr. Rogers one.
And I know everyone watching can relate.
Yes.
Everyone has a memory of Mr. Rogers. I mean, he was like my childhood, my whole
here's
being.
The thing. So I didn't grow up with Mr. Rogers.
Oh.
I was
Sesame Street?
born Rugrats was my jam. Barney, yeah. But I grew up in Texas, and then I moved to Mexico for 4 years. We didn't have Mr. Rogers over there, and so I didn't find out about him until this movie.
Oh, really?
So what's your take on it then? That's
So-
a really interesting point of view.
Well,
That
so I
is
was like, oh,
interesting.
he sounds cool. He sounds like a great guy. And then I saw it, and I was bawling my eyes out because I'm like, this is what we need. Like, this is what I'm all about. Let's be nice to each other. Like, stop all this hate. And I love
Timeless.
kids. Yes. And the fact that he was talking to these kids like people and not talking down to them, I think that's what's so important, too, about the Oscars is that when we get upset because a movie is snubbed or forgotten or they just don't get enough love, it's because some people don't know about these movies until they get nominated.
I know.
Or until people are like, well, what the heck? They got snubbed.
And one other thing to point out about Mr. Rogers is he single-handedly stopped the government from getting rid of PBS. He went in front of Congress and testified and was like, look, this is why PBS is important.
Yep.
This is why it should stay here. So, you know, big ups to Mr. Rogers for keeping PBS on, because if PBS wasn't on, we wouldn't have Sesame Street. We wouldn't have Muppets. We wouldn't have a lot of things that, as a child, I got to see and enjoy. Electric Company, you know.
Exactly.
And enjoy Zoom, 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 and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And it's exactly what we were talking about. We've all talked about it at some point tonight about how this is exactly the type of stuff that we need right now, about bringing people together, about showing diversity, about being champions. He was a religious man, and that show like had little moments in there, but you have this white, religious male figure who completely broke down barriers. He had a black mailman on that was gay. That was gay.
The whole
that
scene
hadn't
with
been
the
seen
water.
before. The scene with the
with the feet in the water.
At that point,
that was so beautiful.
African American people and white people in this country were not swimming in the same swimming pools. So to be able to break that down and teach our young kids those lessons, I do think it was a disservice that this wasn't.
That was major. That was major. So
the importance of allies, Green Book. No, I'm just kidding.
So to move on to something a little lighter that we all lost our minds about when we saw was the performance of the national television debut of Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper performing "Shallow" from A Star Is Born. We lost our minds.
From the beginning, when we saw them walk up together, we were like, oh.
We were like, oh, they walking up out of the audience.
I came back to life. I think I died 3 times.
I mean, guys, you really do need to watch our watch along to see that moment. I think we all just lost it.
We lost
on
it.
The floor. Oh
it was
my gosh.
hilarious.
Well, to spill some tea, there's been some drama in the Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper world. Lady Gaga just got
broke up her engagement,
so that's over.
Why?
Bradley Cooper,
because of no, I'm kidding. I just want to know.
Well, Bradley Cooper is with Irina Shayk, the Victoria's Secret model, gorgeous. They have a 23-month-old child. There's rumors that there's been trouble in paradise. We're not really sure.
You think?
He didn't bring her all around award season, but she was there tonight, very supportive.
Right there,
sat right in the middle of Bradley.
But he did not hug her. He did not hug her when
on
he
camera.
won.
We're not sure. We're not sure. However, this performance, when you watched it, you have to wonder, what is she thinking?
Palpable.
He's gonna be sleeping on the sofa tonight if he get home to sleep home on the sofa. Oh, and now moving on to the next category and segue. So we had no host, which was a big deal because we had Kevin Hart, and then he bounced out of it and all that. So now we had no host, so it was up to the presenters to kind of keep the show moving. And some of the people that we thought were the tops of the tops was when Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, and Maya Rudolph came out. Yes. Even though I was not loving on Maya Rudolph's dress. It was like, I'm not sure what that was.
She doesn't typically have the best style, I wouldn't say, but I thought she looked appropriate. She looked fine.
She's a comedian.
It was not
She's
a home
not
run.
a fashion icon.
Yeah, it wasn't a home run, but she looked fine.
It's
better than being on the worst dress list.
Well, who knows if she is or isn't? We don't know.
She's on Carla's. That's all we know.
She's on mine.
I was just focusing on what she was saying.
But Billy Porter isn't.
No, it's completely different. But I loved all 3 women together. We've seen Tina Fey and Amy Poehler together, but never all 3 of them. And I was like, yes, we need more of this.
I love Tina Fey.
And how smart of the Oscars, right? You lost your host, big controversy. Great idea to have these comedians sprinkled in throughout the award show. I thought it was a nice way to sort of cover.
They did.
And it was smart. It wasn't too heavy-handed. And I thought as an organization, it was a very, very smart choice.
Absolutely. And next up, we so you were talking about James Bond and Charlize Theron. So I want you to talk about that because I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, I was saying, okay, who was the one who was saying Charlize Theron should be a Bond girl?
I was like, oh, maybe. I just had the idea.
And I was like, no, she should be James Bond.
Yeah.
She should be Bond.
Because she was presenting with Daniel Craig.
And he could be a Bond boy. I just feel like she's so, she has this very dominant and beautiful presence.
Yeah,
she debuted you can't help but take your eyes. You can't take your eyes off her.
Dark hair tonight. She debuted a short chop. Asymmetrical bob.
Fierce.
Yeah.
She looked like the evil stepmom from Cinderella. She looked
Okay.
so good. No, but like in a good way. In a good way.
In a good way.
She looked hot.
It's all good. It's all
That was
good.
a horrible description.
There's no man living with a pulse in America who would not look at Charlize Theron, blonde, brunette, in a potato sack, and say,
I saw her in person once, and I was just like, oh my God, I can't handle this level of gorgeousness.
But I think we can all agree that when Julia Roberts came out to present that last award, her in that hot fuchsia pink outfit was everything.
Interesting choice for a closing, but I mean, she's a bona fide actress in her own right, and again, has comedic chops, so I thought it was a smart, nice way. She presented Best Picture, and then she actually closed out the show, too. Which I thought was nice.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how easily everything flowed. It didn't feel like, dang it, you know what, guys? nah, we should have had an Oscars host. It was like,
No.
maybe just never
this
do
is a
this
new
again.
era.
Yeah,
It went really well,
Yeah.
but
We still clocked in at 3
we
hours.
still clocked in
20
at 3
minutes.
hours and some change. So
You know,
I'm like,
but it didn't feel that long. At least not for me. It could have been that we were doing the watch along. It could have been the fact that we didn't have an actual host. But I loved it. It just felt so fast. And the fact that I mean, I know a lot of us were super excited for Shallow. It's just like, is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? Oh my god. So by the time I got there, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Let's
we had
do
more
the rest.
comedians there too. Melissa McCarthy in her. They did. Who was she with?
she was with Brian Tyree
yeah.
Henry.
Brian, sorry,
And
Henry.
all the
and they
costumes.
did like a collage of all of the costumes. I thought that was really well played, really well
When
done.
she
And again,
came out there with all them cats on that thing, I was like, "Oh, that
The
is just
rabbit
wrong."
trying to open
the
up.
the rabbit puppet.
puppet.
I'm like,
That
I
was
cannot.
interesting.
That was that
Yeah.
was funny
so I
as
thought
hell
it
to
was a
me.
good. I thought they all did a really good job given what they
Yeah.
had, and no one I guess wanted to step up and take the job. And I thought the
No, that's
network,
okay.
the presenters, the crowd, in the room, I thought they all did a really good job of making it work with what they had.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
they're professionals, so they kind of know.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So I think that does it for us. And do you guys have any final thoughts about the Oscars overall?
Overall, very well organized without a host. Surprisingly, it just went so swimmingly well. Still not a huge fan about the Best Picture win, but other than that, I thought the speeches were really great this year. This was also the first year that we didn't see any crazy flops or mess ups or John Travolta messing up Idina Menzel's name. Like nothing crazy like that. Just everything just seemed to go very smoothly. Not a lot of political talk, just a little bit here and there, which I liked.
Refreshing.
It was just, it was cool. No, like, annoying jokes that were like, oh, ha, 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 this is a Hollywood joke and everyone's gonna laugh, but it's not funny. Everything was good. I thought it was overall a really great Oscars, and I was so excited to watch with you guys, especially.
What about you guys?
Yeah. Well, before we keep going, I did want to say you guys have made it this far. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still, watching, thank you. Do please subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
We really appreciate getting to talk TV and movies and everything with you guys. So just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like. And if you're listening to us, hello. Thank you so much for doing so. Make sure to give us 5 stars. Make sure that, leave some comments, chat with us. Just because, we're technically done talking about the Oscars doesn't mean we can, the conversation ends.
Conversation's
Exactly.
over, right?
Absolutely.
With that being said, yes, everything to what you guys said, I just love that it was so different. I mean, yes, there were some things that were like, okay, cool. There's going to be some upsets. We're not going to agree on everything, but the fact that it was just like, yeah, Black Panther won. Yes, Into the Spider-Verse won. Like, that was so cool, and being so excited for the people that you were rooting for and actually having a chunk of them win. I think that's just, I don't know. I feel like sometimes we get, maybe other people too, that they're like, whatever, Oscars, I don't know. They're just not going to pick the people that I want, whatever.
And all the steak
this is
faces in the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
The Stone steak face.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
So, yeah.
I love that part too.
I think it was a fantastic night for film. I think it was a fantastic night for diversity. It was a night for unsung heroes. I love that Olivia Coleman pulled this off and went home with the statue. Rami Malek, as we talked about. Spike Lee, finally, as we talked about. So I think what a, I know it's the year of the woman. I know it's the year of diversity. But I think this award show, I hope, showed people about how important it is to come together and be united. With that being said, I still think my favorite moments were the performances. I loved Queen opening the show, especially in lieu of having a host. And Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper, he's not a singer, and he trained for this. And to perform in front of your peers on this type of stage, I thought was fantastic. Gaga knocked it out of the park. She is a force to be reckoned with. I said it in the Globes with Mina, and I think she's going to be a force. She's proven she's here to stay, and I was so happy, even though she didn't walk away with an award, to see her shine.
I think one of my favorite moments of the whole evening was having Barbra Streisand come out. Barbra Streisand did make a political statement without really making a political statement.
Which I loved.
And I love that because she's like, it's Babs.
Classy.
Like, come on, this is
Yeah.
Barbra Streisand we talking about. And that she, when she said, we're both from Brooklyn, and Spike Lee jumped up out of his seat, that was kind of everything. That was really kind of funny to have him jump up when she gave him the shout out about Brooklyn. But I thought it was a very entertaining awards show. Like I concur with you ladies about it going swimmingly well without a host. That was kind of cool. I would like to see them do this again because it just went.
Yeah.
But I
We'll
really
see how the ratings do because that always will.
Yeah, the ratings will determine it. But I really need for them to tighten it up. Like it was still 3 and some change without a host. I'm just saying, 3 and some change without a host. Just okay.
Commercials. Just
Everything.
like do less.
All right. Well, that for everybody that has hung in there with us for the watch along. Yes, including the watch along and the after show. Thank you for hanging in there with us. And we had a great time. I loved watching this with y'all.
Yes.
I know I was a lot because I am the last of the film geeks. So, thank you for enduring and enhancing and putting up with me. So I appreciate that. But until the next time we all see each other again, where can we find you, Anna Kay?
I am Anna K. Thomas. You can find me at Anna K, ANNAKAY Thomas on all social handles.
And you guys can find me on all social media at Amy Cassandra MTZ.
Hey everyone, I'm Mina Wahab. I love movies. Follow me on Instagram at Mina Makes Magic or my website, minawahab.com.
And I am your host, Carla Renata. You can find me across all social media platforms at The Curvy Critic. You can also catch me over at BHL every Sunday live doing The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. And right after that, right back here at AfterBuzz TV doing the GH Report. So until next year, when Oscars 2020 rolls around, we will see you then. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.